So where does the emotion or energy get trapped? Because is it in a nervous system that goes off the spine and then you unblock that nerve? How does it actually work?
Do you want to feel it?
What do you mean? Dr. Sarah Jane, welcome to Curious Conversations. It's a bit formal, isn't it?
I get really uncomfortable when people
really?
call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sound like a wanker.
No, you don't. You're definitely not a wanker.
Definitely not. Well, let's recap it. You have a undergrad in psychology.
Yes.
You have done what in Buddhism?
I've got a postgraduate in Buddhism.
Okay.
Yes, and then I've got an applied science and clinical science degrees as well. Yeah.
I feel a bit stupid.
No, you're not stupid.
But you are also the founder of the modality Spinal Energetics.
Yes, which is a bit weird.
Is it?
Tell us about it. I want to know in detail from your mouth what it is.
It's weird to most people. So when you see it, it looks confronting when I say weird. People think that it could be scary. It looks like someone on the table is having some kind of exorcism, some kind of thing they're not in control of. That's what most people get scared of. Like if they were to come in a session, they say they're scared of something coming up that they don't want to come up. What they don't realize is that they're in control the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah, you're in control the whole time. There's movements and experiences that are unconscious, but you can actually hop out if you need to as well.
For people listening, you would have a person on a table and without touching them, parts of their body will move.
Correct, because people think that you have to touch the physical body to get some kind of physical response, but it's actually not the case. And we know that. We know we don't end just where our physicality ends. We know that.
We know that, but there's a lot of people that probably don't know that. When you say that, what do you mean? The aura, the energy, the frequency?
Yeah, look, some people will use the words aura, but we can just call it the energetic body. So the energetic body does reach out far off the physical body. We don't just end here, we actually end further. And that's what we're actually accessing. And what people don't realize, it looks almost fake, because how can you have, I guess, an impact on someone if you're not touching them, especially within the body? Most of us think if you want an impact on someone, you've got to touch it. Like we go get a massage, or we go, get a rehab program, or we do something where we've got some kind of physical contact. But that's also only addressing the physical layer. There's other reasons for physical pain, for instance, like emotional reasons. So we can actually access that through the energetic field itself.
So what's the difference between that and ReIKI?
Yeah, so
because Reiki's kind of that vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that vibe.
Yeah,
similar notion to Reiki in the sense that you're working off the body in the energetic field.
Okay.
Does Reiki operate through? You process trauma. That's your speciality, right?
It was one of the main reasons it came out in the first place, was because I came from the psychology background, and what I was finding is that people were coming in and they were saying the same stories over and over again.
Which are?
Just their experiences, their perceptions of things. And so they'd come in and for counselling at the time, and they would still be talking about it 6 months later. And then there'd come a part where they wouldn't need to talk about it. They would rationally understand it, but they were still having physiological responses to it. So it's
feelings
like it was
attached to the belief.
Like it's trapped in the body, so to speak. So this was originally built off the concept that we store things in our body, especially difficult things, especially things that were really challenging for us. They're not integrated as a whole. And that's a good thing in a sense. People think that the body's done something wrong. The body's actually done something really smart. So we don't make the body wrong. It's doing it as a safety mechanism, as a protective mechanism to help that, be aware so that you don't do that again next time. It's actually really, really intelligent. So we don't ever label it as blocked. We don't ever label it as stagnant. We don't ever label it as something bad or we need to fix something. It's not that. We just need to provide trust and safety in the body. And the same innate intelligence that created that protective strategy is now the same intelligence we're working with in the field. And that's why the movement occurs. The movement is the intelligence moving it itself rather than the person consciously deciding to move. It's very odd when you describe it with words.
But it makes sense. Like the whole thing you were just talking about took me back to, we sat down with Molly Jane.
Oh, yeah, Molly.
Yeah, in LA, and she was talking about the energetic field and how it spreads basically 6 feet all around you. And say Tully's in a Debbie Downer mood, her energy frequency would be affecting mine. And she
Yeah.
gave the tip, like every night she goes and showers and she's like, well, what energy isn't mine? What's attached to me? So it's making more sense to me that energy can also be trapped within your body.
Yeah, and like we look at it more as a nervous system somatic technique which utilizes the energetic field. So, for example, if you have negative energy within you, I'm not frightened of that. Anything that's within you can be within me.
Yeah.
And as a practitioner or any other practitioner, what we work on with you or co-facilitate with you will be different depending on who you're working with. So what will happen when you and I get together on the table will be different, say, if you and I were to, because we have different experiences in life and we've got different things that we can resonate with in the field to help each other through, to co-facilitate. So it's even different to that level. But yeah, we talk about it more from a somatic kind of point of view of what emotional things have you gone through in your life that you haven't been able to quite process. And so we're working with the unconscious, but we work with that within the field itself.
So if I went in to see you and I mean, I'd have some trauma, I would think, from when I was a child, but I felt completely normal. What do you think would come up for me? Like, would you know by looking at me, or like, is there energy?
Do you need to feel it?
So I didn't get any special powers, unfortunately.
That was my next question too. Yeah. Is it like powers, or is it like you studied this? Like what is
so what I believe is that there's, like, we all have this ability.
Yeah.
I've just worked on it longer and much more.
Okay.
I think some of us have a little bit more of a natural ability as well, but I kind of liken it to like Michael Jordan playing basketball. If he didn't practice at all, he still wouldn't have been Michael Jordan.
Oh, fair.
So you've got to have a bit of a natural talent, but also if you really commit to it and, work really hard at engaging the skill set, you can do that as well. That's why we teach it, because we want everyone to realize that I'm not special, that you can do this and you can do this as well. That actually you're the healer, so to speak. It's not me.
Yeah.
But I probably can just tap in a little bit quicker into what's in the field and why.
Okay.
What role does the nervous system and the spine play in emotions?
A huge role. So what we believe in terms of our philosophy, it's subjective, is we believe when you're not dealing with something and you want to deal with it later, we believe it stores in the spine. We believe the later is the spine.
Yeah.
It's like the life force of...
Yeah, there's energy that flows through up and down the spine. Some philosophies call it kundalini, others prana, others, chi. We kind of don't refer to it like that. We refer to it more as innate intelligence. So the same thing that heals your cut, the same thing that gets your period to come in on time, the same thing that synchronizes your periods if we were all to live together. We don't think consciously, all right, let's all synchronize. There's something in the intelligence in the field that does that for us. And it is in the field. There's studies where they've taken monkeys, for example, in small Japanese islands and taught them to wash sweet potatoes. And then other monkeys in other close by islands, similar breed, knew how to do it without being taught it.
Oh, wow.
So it actually becomes in the field. It's in the resonance. And Rupert Sheldrake has got some amazing studies on this in terms of morphic resonance, they call it. So there's an idea that the information exists in the field too. Just like
it ripples.
It ripples. It's a ripple effect. Just like if I had walked in today and you guys had a massive fight or a massive argument, you wouldn't have to tell me that. I could walk in and you can feel it.
Yeah.
So it's that same kind of, like, just the energy's off. You don't have to be a spiritual person to understand this work.
Yeah.
That's one thing where I think we get missed a lot. People either believe in energy or they don't. It's not a belief system. It just is. And there's a lot of science behind the fact that the energy is a real thing. I think where it gets missed for us is that they still see the body and mind as separate. And they still see if you want to fix the body or treat the body, then you treat it as a machine and you just look at the physicality purely. If you've got physical pain, it must be because there's something physically wrong. What we believe and what we're trying to get out there is the message that there's other reasons behind it, such as emotions, such as experiences. Otherwise, conditions like fibromyalgia, pain disorders that relate to, our emotional well-being wouldn't be in existence.
Is it becoming more popular, especially since, and I've read this book, The Body Keeps Score?
Yeah, it has that. Bessel van der Kolk really, I guess, shine a light on this idea from a really Western point of view. And he's got really exceptional qualifications. He's well respected in his field. And he brings a lot of science to it. And he speaks about it quite rationally and logically. And that really helped. However, it's a really hard read. it's really dry information.
Yeah.
Incredible information, but to read it is kind of
I definitely haven't read it.
it's got a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
But it was probably the first book which opened up a lot of, people's eyes that there's the body literally, it's like a fingerprint of your life.
Mm.
It's like a timeline of your life. Anything that you've gone through is in your field and is in your body already. But even within spinal, we believe it was in the field first before it was in your body.
Oh, so it got attracted to you and then it's stored there.
Attracted, possibly, but for whatever reason, we believe it was it's existed in the field first. Joe Dispenza talks about it as well. He refers to a study, I can't remember the exact name of it, but where breast cancer was able to be predicted based off what was in their energetic field and to quite an accurate percentage.
Wow.
How do you measure your energetic field?
How do I filter?
How do you measure your energetic field?
I'm not sure how they did that in this study. It was very, very, very interesting. Bruce Lipton's coming up with some new stuff as well, where about epigenetics.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No.
Epigenetics is basically this idea that, yes, you're born with genes, but whether they turn on or not is based on your environment.
Yeah.
And what they found is that adopted children in families with the breast cancer gene are getting the cancer as well, but they're adopted.
Oh.
So they're actually assimilating the gene response from being in the environment itself.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's really, really interesting field if you are interested in that idea. Bruce Lipton's got some really cool work on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually just did a big deep dive, last night on cancer, but that's another thing.
Sarah,
insulin.
Yeah.
That's my
insulin.
Yeah. No, that's
I rather not read about stuff like that.
It's really difficult. And that's the one thing I am passionate about in this field as well, is not making people feel like there's something that they did wrong. I feel like in alternative health, like I remember I had a miscarriage and I went to an acupuncturist and they were like, it's because your blood's stagnant. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not helpful.
Yeah.
So it can actually be a bit to your responsibility in some aspects, which is why we want to blend the West and the East as well. You get the best of both worlds if you blend the intelligence from the Western as well as the Eastern. They both have huge merit. The problem is they feel like they have to pick a side. And unfortunately with this technique, Spinal Energetics, we're not Eastern enough for the spiritual people and we're not Western enough for the medical people.
Yeah.
So because we're trying to blend the ideals of both.
So where does the emotion or energy get trapped? Because is it in a nervous system that goes off the spine and then you unblock that nerve? How does it actually work?
Do you want to feel it?
What do you mean?
Well, I can just do it very quickly on the ground. Like it will take under 2 minutes.
Sarah loves this shit.
Right,
I'm
so
like,
just lie on your ground in the back and you'll feel what it is. On your back.
on your back.
Yeah.
That's your stomach.
Yeah, that's your stomach.
For anyone listening, Sarah's currently lying down in front of me, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see it.
What are you checking?
So lung meridian. So
She's checking the lung meridians.
So see through here how it's hard?
Yeah.
And through here it's not?
Yeah.
So your masculine's actually really good. You're actually comfortable in your masculine, your feminine side not as much.
Oh.
So yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you recently.
Yeah, I feel like she knew that.
It's actually really hard because of the way that you were parented by your mother.
Yep.
Was she a single mum?
Oh, basically.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So basically,
Can you tell?
Yeah, you can tell just by that. So because she had more masculine energy, that feels safe to you. And she would have told you, like, make sure you look after yourself, make sure you can get an education, make sure you don't ever rely on a man, get a separate bank account.
What the fuck? Sorry.
Yeah. So you can hear it in the body. So I'm not psychic, I can just speak body. So that's the main thing that's happening.
Oh my God, I got like real emotional. I don't know why.
Really
Sorry.
Weird, around kinder age, something traumatic happened to you. So around 3 or 4.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
You don't have to say
You
it.
don't have to
She's going to say it on the mic.
My mum and dad were going through their divorce proceedings, and I remember saying to my mum, "Don't leave me with this strange lady."
Yeah, so that's also in your feminine side. And there's a bit of gut issues going on as well. So we'll look at that in through here. So that's pancreas, which is interesting that you're being drawn to insulin at the moment because that's where obviously insulin comes from. But that's your kind of your true self-worth. So there's still some self-worth stuff you're working on in relationships and stuff as well. So you put up with too much shit, basically. So.
Oh my God, I'm like mind blown. I can't.
No, we haven't done it yet. Shit. So that's just all it's told me. So
I am
just
mind blown.
Close your eyes. It's like electricity going up your whole arm, all right? But this is tangible energy, and that's why I do it, so people can feel it, because they don't believe it otherwise. Just relax your arm. So I have to go into your friendship circle to get into the access.
Oh, God.
Because that's it. Yeah, you've only got about 2 real good ones, so let's just go in there.
Friends?
Yeah, like ones you can really trust, about 2. Who actually know everything about you.
Shit, I thought I had 4.
Nah, about 2. It's 2.
Hope I'm one of them.
You are.
Ooh, oh yeah.
Did you feel it?
Yeah. All through down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just us cleaning that through there.
Oh my goodness.
And then, yeah, it's your mum's. Mum's got stuff in there too.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you
so
know what?
the
That's
line.
100.
That's
I've
the
been thinking
ancestral
about
line.
an ancestral.
I'm like mind blown.
Okay, the audio's back now. I've been thinking about
button off it.
ancestral stuff so much lately
Yeah.
because my nan was a single mum as well, and I was just like, there's such a
Well, it's ingrained in all of you. So it's gone down the line, and not genetically ingrained, but ingrained from safety.
How, say, after you have a release like that,
Yeah.
is it gone forever? Do you have to work on it more?
It depends, because things can always unravel.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I didn't know my father growing up. So in primary school, that had issues around like, oh, you know, what's your dad do?
Yeah.
And I just used to lie and say he died.
Oh,
Because then people would stop asking,
Oh yeah, fair.
you know. And
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, I wish I had a dad like everyone else, you know, blah, blah, blah. Then it got to getting married, for example.
Mhm.
Oh, everyone else has someone to walk them down the aisle.
Mhm.
I had to ask my brother.
Yeah.
And then it got to my mum is brain damaged from a really rare brain disease. So she was my only family, really.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, oh, I don't have any parents now. I don't have a
Oh,
dad. So
yeah.
at every kind of
Stage of life.
stage in life, I have a different thing unravel around it. It's not bad. It's a different perception, a different perspective. And the goal of the work is to change your perspective each time, because it's not really what happens to you. It's your understanding of what it means.
Ah.
So this gives you a change in perception.
Do you feel different?
Yeah, I really do. Like, it's
Clearer?
clearer in my
Yeah,
frontal
then-
lobe.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll actually be able to create more now.
Great.
Yeah, because do you get creative blocks?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
you get
only
tired.
in certain windows.
Yeah, so
Yep.
you get fatigued too quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, because through there it's got a lot of over functioning
Okay.
in the sense
I'm an
of the,
overthinker.
yeah, of the mental.
Yeah.
So too much in the mental field and actually drains your actual heart field. So what I open then in the left is your heart meridian.
So I've just got a question. When you had Sarah lying on the floor like that, how did you
How did you feel it?
yeah, but also like how did you know one day to do like when you did the arm thing and stuff? Like
The
no,
connection.
yeah, but like how like it was such an amazing process to watch. Like how did you because you've trademarked this, haven't you?
We've trademarked it, but it doesn't really mean anything
Yeah.
Yeah.
in trademark law, if you
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, but like
A
how
lot
did
of
you
copycats out there.
Yes,
at the
there are.
moment.
They
I
only
could
know a
imagine
little
they
bit of
are.
difference.
So just
Yeah.
be a bit careful though around that too.
Okay.
Because they haven't done the training properly. I'm not saying education is the only way,
Okay.
but it is an important aspect. Like this has been a part of my life for over a decade.
Yeah.
You can't just learn this and then think you can teach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem, because it's energy work. People don't give it as much reverence.
Mm-hmm.
Like you wouldn't just go start doing heart surgery next week because you
Oh,
watched
no.
someone do it.
Yeah.
But what did you actually feel to even get back to my nana? What do you sense?
So it felt older. It was more dense. Once I cleared your mum, then
Yep.
I felt the next line up.
so there's layers.
It feels like
Far
layers,
out.
yes. But again, I wasn't born with it. Like I can teach you how to do
Yeah.
this. I do it a lot all day, every day.
Yeah.
So it's like a muscle is stronger. I'm
Yeah.
not like David, where he can just
See dead
Like
people.
David the medium.
yeah. But he would probably disagree.
So
Um,
you train so you have a course to train other practitioners
Yeah,
like this. So
yeah.
I did have notes before and I just said to you guys, oh my God, they're on my laptop but they didn't sync to my phone. But I was looking through your Instagram and I think it was one that you'd pinned and it was a guy that came to your training.
Yeah, Ryan.
And he said, and I was like, oh my God, I could probably relate to that. He said, you know, he sees all this stuff online and, you know, it's very hard to believe if it's actually true.
Yep.
And then he went there and he was like, oh my God, it was amazing and it worked.
He's actually a practitioner now too.
Is he? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So I'm going up to Sydney next week to help him run a retreat.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
he's hugely passionate about it.
That's
And-
crazy because he
Yeah.
was like, I see this stuff online and you just never know if it's real or not. I could see a lot of people, but even me seeing that there and you saying those things, I was like, whoa, mind blown. Do you get a lot of people like that?
Of course, but I wouldn't even think it's real.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I don't get
If you
offended.
saw it.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
If you had told me, 15 years ago, you're going to be,
doing this.
I'd be like, that's ridiculous.
How has it
Really?
transformed your life?
I think, so it's been influenced by a lot of different modalities.
Mm.
And those modalities have been modalities that I've learned from an educational point of view, but also modalities that I've had to emerge myself in from my own experiences in life where I needed help and I needed assistance.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people in this space have had extensive experiences that have been challenging for them, whether they're traumatic experiences or whatnot. It's kind of almost a prereq to doing this kind of work, because the more you've kind of worked on yourself, the more I can take you somewhere as well. So I think that's why a lot of healers, for lack of a better word, have had really interesting
Makes sense.
lives. Like you've actually got a really natural talent for it.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you'd be really good at it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Because you're highly empathetic. You can feel emotions really quickly. So you already are getting what I feel, for example. You could do that to me and you would already start. It's not something you'd have to be taught, but you'd need to be taught the actual processes to do the work. Again, there's different modalities with different processes. This isn't the only way, but we teach you one way to gain access in the field that way. And it's really intricate. We teach it really detailed, which shocks a lot of people because they think they just get to come in and wave their arms, where there's a lot of actual assessment and processes involved, so that we blend both, the mental as well as the heart, so the rational and the esoteric.
How many days does it go for?
It's 4 days for level 1, but you get a lot of care after as well, and to get in is a bit challenging, so we usually prefer people who've had experiences.
Good background. Yeah.
Do you know what? I feel real woo-woo, but I feel like I need a drink of water.
Yeah, you're a bit
Daisy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which happens as well. So that's only like a minute. Normally my sessions go for half an hour.
Wow.
Far
So
out.
you could imagine how quick the brainwave state can change and the consciousness level can change.
Yeah.
I always do that at the start, where I communicate with them so they start having trust in me. Because once the trust is there, the soul comes out.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Souls
that
are
would
a bit
make sense.
cheeky.
Yeah,
Like they hide, especially trauma and things like that. They don't want to show you
Open themselves up.
No.
I know what I was going to say. Once you've practiced, can you
Oh, yeah. Good question.
do the modality on yourself?
You can do it. We don't teach that as such. We've just come up with a self-healing way. I don't know if you've heard of Human Garage, but we were invited to go to Ireland with them, and we taught all of the about 2,500 people how to do this on themselves, like a version of it on themselves. And it was so cool. Everyone's like up there and doing it. So the goal of this is so that you don't have to rely on a practitioner.
Yeah,
it's not a very smart business model.
Yeah.
But what happens is people tell their friends, their family, and then it widespreads like that, rather than you need to come in 4 times a week.
Yeah.
That's something
That's what I was going to say to you before. If someone goes, because like seeing that, I'm like, I could see how that could kind of be addictive.
Yeah.
In a way. How often would you advise someone to come see you?
Yeah, the first time we just see how your integration period is. Everyone's is different. Yours would be quite fast.
Okay.
Yours would be slower.
What do you mean?
You can just tell from the speed. So even when Tully talks, she's quite So she's quite a fast integrator, and it also means when I work on her, I'd have to be quicker. Whereas when I work on you, it'd have to be slower.
That would make sense.
Even in yoga training, I was more the yin trainer and she was more the fire.
I'm like
trainer.
vinyasa, give it. Yeah.
So even that, I would have to change the way that I work with both of you. So for example, I would see you less often than what I would see you.
Okay.
But also the addiction thing is a thing, especially with Kundalini work at the moment. People become attached to the bliss.
Yes.
With our work, unfortunately, it's not as much bliss as you think. You sometimes have to go through the mud a little bit. It can be challenging.
Can you explain to the listeners what bliss is?
So it can be like literally just that feeling of happiness, that state where nothing's a problem.
Like the release.
Yeah, it's the same reason why people become addicted to drugs, alcohol, or even food. It gives you a comfort. But the problem is they're relying on something outside of themselves to constantly reach that. So what we want to do is help you stay connected to yourself to the point where then you can internally get to these different states of consciousness rather than relying on the practitioner.
Yeah.
I've got a question when it comes to that state of bliss. I've got a health guy I go to, and I call him Magic Mike, and he does
He sounds great.
he does he puts electrodes on me and stimulates muscles and things like
Cool.
that. But one thing he says a lot, and especially about me, is my vagus nerve and releasing my cranial something right up the top. And I can't get it to release yet. But doing something like you just did on the floor where I can feel it go all the way up my neck.
That can change the vagus,
Does it stimulate blood flow to my head? That's why I feel this.
Funny.
It would change the physiology, yes, as well. I couldn't tell you specifically exactly what's going on. This is just an idea because we haven't got scientific studies as such, but there's something that's changing for you to feel lightheaded. That's a physical response. Okay, so there's something that's happening with that. In terms of the vagus, what that is a sympathetic dominant state. It's a sympathetic nervous system state. So like your fight or flight. That's why everyone's talking about vagus nerve now, because we're living in a kind of burnout culture where we're always on. Vagus nerve wasn't a thing. So the vagus nerve is your cranial nerve 10, and that relates to your parasympathetic state, so your rest and your digest. And so what that tells me about you as well, like I said before, your gut issues, is because your vagus is on all the time. So if you're in the sympathetic state, you can't be in your rest and digest state. You can only be in one state at a time. So your sleep would be off, and even if you do sleep, you wouldn't feel refreshed.
Yeah.
So
You're also a very light sleeper.
Yeah.
Disturbed easy.
Would wake up with the click of a fingers.
Yeah.
Like you're a very light sleeper.
That just means that you're hyper reactive as well. So
that makes sense.
Probably more of your reptilian brain a little bit in that way. So for example, if we were like living in the bush, we would have to be able to switch on that quick if something was to come and get us. So there's something in your brain that's not as safe during sleep time that's always on.
Much sense.
So you've just got a higher guard rate than whereas you don't, which is interesting because your life's more interesting to the point where you would think that you would respond more like that.
Yes,
I live alone in the bush.
And that's why I said that's interesting.
That I said that.
Yeah, no.
I don't know why the bush came to mind.
But that's why I said, I was like, that would make so much sense.
Tully lives in a secure apartment. I live in a big house in the bush.
But I feel like because you have a partner that's changed your sleeping patterns as well.
Yes, if I lived
How did you know I was single?
I can tell.
Damn.
She's done her research. No, if I lived in a house, I would be probably like that though.
You would be. You'd be worse, probably.
100%.
I don't think you could ever live in a
I'm
big
like, if I live in a
anyway.
house, I'm getting like the big
Lights.
bars, everything. Like, I already know.
Fort Knox.
Yeah.
So you feel more
so
safe because you've got a
interesting.
partner. But you would too. So even if I lived in the house, just another person, you would feel less hypervigilant.
Yeah.
Because you've only got yourself to protect yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's actually a normal response.
Yeah.
So I don't mind responses when they're contextual.
Yeah.
It's when they're no longer contextual or you're stuck in the past or you're future oriented. That's when there's an issue. Because if it's contextual, it makes sense. Like if someone's just passed away and you're sad, I don't want to get rid of that sadness.
Yeah, of course.
Grief. It's beautiful to be sad at that point in time. You need that. You need that process.
But when does it get to a point in time where that sadness and grief becomes debilitating and
Well, each person's different. But if they can't live their life after a certain period of time, and again, that period of time is different for everyone. I remember back when I was learning psychology, it was about 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks was the full grief period. They've changed it since.
Yeah.
But the grief never really goes away either. It's different. But if, say, 3 years later and you still can't get out of bed, that would be a lack of integration.
Yeah.
Or not choice, not consciously, but there's something that's keeping you in that loop.
For people listening, what are some usual emotions, beliefs like that come to see you? Is it addiction? Is it PTSD? Is it
all of those things? Because they're all really the same thing.
Which is?
Well, for trauma-based or a lack of being able to integrate a whole experience. So when people are addicted to drugs, it's not the drug that they're necessarily addicted to. It is eventually, but what drew them there was what? Emotional pain, a feeling, not wanting to feel.
Yeah.
You know,
So this goes with eating disorders. Absolutely everything.
You know, eating disorders, whether it's overeating or undereating, it's all usually that's related to sexual trauma and things like that as well. Because there's a whole bunch of different reasons behind that, but we won't go into. But some people want to feel like less appealing to the opposite sex, for example. Others do it as a self-punishment. I don't even deserve to eat. It's never about food. Just like if I was to put a dietitian in a room with someone who has anorexia, that's not going to be of any benefit.
No,
because
it's deeper than that.
It's deeper than here's the food pyramid, and this is how many times a day you should be eating. It's not a lack of education around food. It's a lack of being able to connect with themselves and connect with the world again. There's trauma. These are all trauma-based experiences.
If someone has an addictive disorder and you have them as a client and they don't have that awareness that it comes from a limiting belief or something, do you start that conversation with them?
Sometimes no. Yeah, because it will start on its own anyway. So, for example, I have a lot of young men who are like addicted to vaping or addicted to marijuana, who have come in and seen me, whose mums, for example, have sent them in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like you can't live like this, you need to come in, go see Sarah. Then they show them a picture of me and they go, all right, I'll try.
I'll come, she's a cute doctor, I'll come.
Thanks, Mum.
That's how they get them to come in and say, well, that's weird, but all right. But anyway, but also I'm young.
Yeah.
So I don't, young enough. I don't look like a typical, like sit there with a notebook, like clinical. It looks like a
You're more inviting.
More inviting for a safe place to talk.
Absolutely.
Without feeling judged. The place, even if you ever come to one of our clinics, doesn't look clinical. It's got flowers hanging from the ceiling. It's pink. It's got, tea everywhere. It's got beautiful music everywhere. Like you don't feel like there's something wrong with you. You feel given permission to be yourself from the very beginning.
Which is what you want.
Which is what you want.
Yeah.
And anyway, they don't even know what's happening. We don't even necessarily educate them. You have to ask yourself the question, what's important to them? Is this knowledge important to them? Me talking about the quantum field, is that going to do anything for an 18-year-old boy who's smoking marijuana at home? Not really.
What's the quantum field? Energy.
Well, that's a whole
Joe
nother thing,
Dispenza.
isn't it? Joe Dispenza talks a lot about it. If you haven't gone to one of his retreats, you should. Really incredible.
Yeah.
But they don't care. They care about their day-to-day.
Yeah.
So all they do is they lie on the table and they don't understand it. All they know is that when they get up, they feel better. And they feel better about who they are. They feel like they can... it's like they've got more tolerance, like their window of tolerance has been expanded, so the need for the drug isn't there as much. And we've got really good results, especially with younger people. The younger you are, the more
that was another
vulnerable
question I was going to ask. How young can you go to get this? Would you call it a treatment? What do you call it?
We call it a session.
A session, okay, yeah.
Because otherwise treatment again sounds like we're treating
clinical.
something.
Yeah.
So my practitioners can't see anyone under the age of 12.
Okay.
And we do that because kids have different systems. People just think it's a small system. It's not. It's a completely different system. But what we do then is we work on the parents. Because most of the stuff is coming from the parents.
That's what Solomon would say.
Yeah.
A therapist.
Yeah. So you just work on the parent. And in saying that, just like the story about the monkeys
because
and the
their
potato,
energetic
their energy
field
is going to change the child's field.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I need to get my nana and my mum in, don't I?
Yeah. Your nana specifically would be the best
she's
one.
97.
Okay. Well, we would work very gently.
Yeah.
Because, my practitioners as well over the age of 77 don't work just because of the movement on the table and osteoporosis and things in menopause. I see anyone from any age because of my chiro background.
Yep.
And again, you don't have to move to – that's another thing that's a misconception. Everyone thinks it's the movement that is everything. We have clients who never move, who have huge experiences. Like I didn't even drop you in the field then to get connected to that, and you felt like you felt something.
Yeah.
So there's no need to.
It's crazy.
Going back to the vagus nerve and fight and flight, if someone's at home or listening or watching, how do they know if their body is in fight or flight mode right now? Is there a
test?
Yeah.
Can be you just rub here on your sternum. Is it sore?
No.
Yeah, mine is.
Is it?
A little bit.
You're a bit low, says.
Okay,
Come
a bit
up
higher.
Am I in the right spot?
Well, mine's not too bad.
I
I saw a TikTok.
I'm rubbing quite hard. Oh, like that hurts. Oh, yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, so yours is on. Yeah, and yours is.
It hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's feminine side and masculine side. So you've got it on both, but you can even see from the sides which side is more prevalent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the TikTok trick of pulling your ear down until you yawn's not a thing?
That is a thing to probably help release it, so to speak. But to check if your vagus nerve is
wow, that's the most efficient way.
Yeah, there's a quick way there.
So yours wouldn't be sore?
It's still a bit sore because I'm a human being, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
I wish I was perfect. This work hasn't made me perfect. It's definitely, I wouldn't be alive without it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And I wouldn't be as highly functioning as I am without it. To have hope for the future and to enjoy being here is pretty lucky considering the life I've had. So that to me is my idea of this work. No one's ever going to.
Yeah.
And there's times where that's not. But it's the awareness around it. I've got really good awareness about what's going on in my body and what I need to do to work with that.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that is so crazy.
Yeah. Can you feel it?
I can't, I'm probably not going hard enough, but when you did it, I was like, oh my God, that hurts.
Yeah, so you've got a little bit, but yours is not as bad in the sense that for me, your nature is just really fast.
Yeah.
So it's actually part of your personality too.
Yeah.
It's not just a trauma response, so to speak. You actually are more.
Yeah, I'm pretty fast paced.
Yeah, fast paced. So it doesn't bother me so much as opposed to if yours is, because you are more calm. It's actually more of
trauma response
where it's more imbalanced or not as homeostasis.
Yeah.
So you were saying before, like if anyone's listening and they're like, wow, I want to come and see you, how often do you how often do you do sessions and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I don't really see people anymore. It got to the point where the wait list woere just
because people want to see you.
I know, which is why I'm trying to step away. So because we've got over 500 practitioners now around the world.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's
congratulations.
There's someone everywhere for everyone.
Yeah.
And I also suggest seeing more than one because again, like what I said, what we would work together would be different. You'd work together would be different personalities, different the way that you express will be different with different people. So it is teachable. And that's the best part. It's not that I'm special or anything like that. I'm not transmissioning anything. I'm very careful around words like that. I don't believe that I'm transmissioning from God or I'm activating some kind of special source in you that only I can do. That's not what's happening. This is a human to human experience. And every human being has this within them.
Yeah.
I think we've just forgotten it in culture over time. Like for example, like shake it off response in dogs. Or they shake naturally. We don't judge them for that.
That's true.
And ducks and birds flap their wings to calm their nervous
Do
system.
they?
Yeah, we have things as well, but because of social cues and expectations,
Oh, remember when I fished everywhere at Kundalini? Everyone thought I was weird. No, we're in Kundalini
as well.
in LA and
the best Kundalini I've ever done in my life.
What was it?
It was, what was that girl's name?
White Lotus?
Oh, yeah.
The famous Kundalini teacher. I can't remember her name, but oh my God, it was phenomenal.
Well,
it's a similar kind of feeling to that.
Okay.
But in Kundalini, it's more sporadic.
Yeah.
Whereas ours is specific patterned. So, for example, I'd want it to go towards that side based on what I found. So your movement would come more related to that tension pattern.
Do you know what? Coincidentally, I did a little bit of a yoga flow this morning at home.
And you hurt your side?
No, that side does tend to get sore, but I was shaking my legs just trying to loosen up my hips and just like energetic free it up. I was like, oh, my left-hand side has so much less mobility than my right-hand side.
Yeah, you'll see things like that. But also if there's something you can do at home called TRE, which is really, really interesting, by David Bichelli. He's a physiotherapist and he came up with it. It's trauma release exercises. And he came up with it from the Vietnamese War for veterans who had PTSD. And it actually works with your hip flexors, your psoas, and engages a shake it off response. Naturally.
What do you do? I had an ex-partner who had severe PTSD from war.
Do you want to see it? It's a bit weird.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
But you basically engage your psoas. So, like a butterfly pose.
Yeah.
Yoga. But you press the heels together and then you, fly. And then you put your adductors on and push your butt into the ground. So I'll find it and there it is for me.
Oh, wow.
And you can do this for up to 5 minutes a day. And this automatically turns on the trauma release in your hip flexor because your psoas holds a lot. Females.
Far out.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Have a little look up.
Yeah, that's crazy. What have you taken from this podcast, Sarah?
That
I think she needs to see you.
100%.
I'll see you guys.
100%.
I'm dying. I want to come.
I thought what you did was phenomenal, but I also found it so interesting that you can go through different phases of your life. So for now, obviously I'll be dealing with 36 years of trauma, but then say I might go through another traumatic experience of a loved one passing or something happening in my life and have to go again. It's just different phases.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a one-off thing, but what I look for is we don't want the same thing that you're coming in for all the time.
Yeah.
But we want you to evolve as a human and different experiences come up.
Yeah.
And therefore, different things are going to be able to be worked through with you. That's part of the human experience. The only time that's ever going to stop is when we're dead. So,
yeah,
as long as we're here.
Yeah. I say that. It's like different seasons and chapters of your life. It's like,
what did you take?
well, exactly that. Like different seasons and chapters of your life where you're going to come up with different emotional responses, trauma response.
Talis just had a baby. Is that a trauma response? Like traumatic?
I mean, I had a cesarean, so I wouldn't say it's traumatic.
No, more just shocked. She has shock around the fact that she has a baby.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. She did. I don't think you ever thought you were going to be a mum even though you wanted to be.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I was dying to be a mum, but I just thought I'd never meet the one.
Yeah, but you have a lot of fear of being a bad mum.
Yeah, I do actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
deep
you are
down.
psychic.
I feel,
and you feel that from her energetic field.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes.
But you're a great mum.
Yeah, I think I am. But like today, I'm working all day and I had to leave her with my sister,
It's
and
hard.
I feel like a bad mum. Like I feel like I neglected her
No.
a little bit.
No.
When I get home, I feel like that. When I'm here, I'm like, I forget I have a child.
Yeah.
But when I get home and I see her, I'm like, oh, I feel bad.
I feel like you don't need to because it's part of your soul, this part.
Yes.
So this isn't an egocentric thing. This is part of your soul to need to express and be part of who you are. And I feel like her soul would understand that. As weird as that
I feel like
sounds.
that too, yeah.
I don't feel like she's not. Some babies feel distressed when their parents.
Oh yeah, she's not like that. No.
Yeah, I don't mean like I don't think
Yeah.
she really
Yeah.
minds that you're not there.
No, I agree. She's probably having a ball. She's with my sister, her
she's having fun.
grandparents. She's fine.
She's having fun. Don't worry.
With your woo-woo perspective,
Yeah.
what do you think all of this is?
The whole world.
Whole life, everything.
Oh, it's a bit of a joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all a joke. Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every long-term meditator that I know has all gotten to a point where they just start laughing at some point
Really?
about just the illusion of it all. It's a very real experience. We're very tangible, so it's hard to say that it's a joke, so to speak, but it's a ride. You know, we're here for a reason, and that's also why we want to make sure that people stay and are grateful in this dimension rather than trying to ascend to other places all the time, because we're here for the human experience. We won't always have these bodies to move around in and walk around in and do things in. You know, we're going to be a soul up there for a long time. So, but it's hard.
What does your practice look like?
My day-to-day?
Yeah, like wellness. How do you look after yourself in what we would say woo-woo world?
Holistic.
I read a lot.
Okay.
That's something really calming for me. My mum and I used to do it when I was like a kid as well. So it's just like something keeps me close to her. I don't go out very much. I find that hard. I only have like my
Social
core
battery.
group of friends, and I like go to like their house, or I'll come visit like 2 people I can do. But when it's a group, it's a lot for me. So I tend to not really do that.
That's
I watch
fair.
a lot of podcasts on TV.
Yeah.
I also watch a lot of crap on TV.
Yeah.
Bit of reality.
Love
Just to help me switch
Have
off.
to, yeah.
Because, you know, especially when I was working, I'd see 30 clients a day, hearing like some of the really horrible things that can happen in the world. But then also seeing the change and the beauty of that too is really, I don't know, like it helps me just remember what's important. I feel like I've got a really good gauge on what actually matters most of the time. But
How does their
human
energetic field not affect your energetic field?
I think it probably does to an extent.
Yeah.
But for me, I use like almost like a volume. So when I'm working, I turn up like this ability to kind of, you know, work. And then when they go, I switch it off. I also do shower, like Molly said, though, which is interesting. David sages and stuff. I don't do that. The reason I don't do that is because clients then think like it could be bad energy or bad things coming out of them. Whereas we want them to look at this more as a somatic experience, like going to the psychologist. They're not going to sage you.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So we want to look at it more from that point of view rather than like something bad's come out of you. There's
that something's wrong
That's
with
actually
you.
true. Yeah, you
Yeah.
like sage, and you're like, oh, it's a
Yeah.
bad feel. It gives you a bad energy. You're
Yeah,
like,
like,
oh, I'm a bad person.
Yeah, I remember being at an event once and
Yeah.
like doing my thing, and then someone just came up and saged me, and I was like,
It's offensive.
Oh.
Yeah. So I feel really good today. Like, I've
I was
got
like,
good vibes.
oh, I'm still a demon. So, you know, and again, it's not to say there's other, you know, shamanic practitioners and stuff for that kind of thing, and that's okay. But for us, we try to steer away from that, especially we're trying to get more recognized. We're about to have a practitioner do a PhD on spinal. We're trying to get more recognized from a grounded point of view, so that people stop thinking this is woo-woo.
Yeah.
It's actually not. Your heart rate changes. You know, there's EEG scans where your brainwave changes. This is actually physiologically altering people's life experience. So it's just the look of it. So I'm trying to change the videos a little bit so they're not as like pretend looking. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So over here, maybe just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Here.
I think what you're doing is phenomenal.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to come see you.
Yeah, I am too. I'm 100%. That was crazy.
Where can people find a practitioner near them?
Yeah, so Spinal Energetics website, we've got a whole practitioner directory, a whole map. You just type in where you are in the world and it'll tell you where the closest is. But also we are renowned for our online sessions, which again, I would tell you.
You can do online sessions?
Yeah, I'll tell you it was a load of shit if I didn't know better. But COVID forced us to go online.
Yeah.
And we're getting the same results.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah, and Tony Robbins recently did a scientific study from his UPW online and in person. You get the same physiological results like through stool samples and through hormone changes as you do in person. So they're starting to see that that's even connected now. So we do online as well, but we've even got practitioners in Kenya. Like we've got, like I'm so proud. Like there's Kenyan women in the villages receiving this work so that they can, you know, connect to each other and there are parts of them that, you know, kind of get repressed in their society and things like that. So I feel very lucky that no matter where you are in the world, you can have access to this work. That was my goal.
Yeah. Well done. That is amazing.
That's incredible. Good on you.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah.
What I wanted.
Good on you. Changing lives and just getting it out there.
Attempting
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Like you've blown my mind.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. I know it's a really hard subject to talk about. That's why I kind of just go, do you want to feel it?
Yeah.
Because the words kind of just sound like a load of
No, I understand.
gibberish, you know?
Sarah's got a very scientific background, whereas I don't.
Yeah.
So that's why she's like really.
I'm very literal.
Yeah.
but it's good.
Yeah.
But the way you explain and stuff, my brain, I can understand it.
Yeah.
Because all those books you were all talking about, I could not read them because I would be reading words. It wouldn't sink in. But the way you explain it and had visually showed us was amazing. So thank you.
And that's why I wanted you to feel it.
Yeah.
Because then your analytical brain goes, it's real.
Yes.
Because you could tangibly feel it. Whereas when you go to ReIKI, for example, you kind of just maybe just go to sleep or you
I don't feel anything
but you
in
don't
ReIKI.
feel anything tangible. So
No.
this is a very tangible experience, which is why the Westerners really like it. It's like yoga in India, yoga is very different to yoga here.
Yes.
So I wanted to make it for the Westerner, and making it tangible was how we could do it.
Good on
Very
you. That's
true.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.